Hi, I'm Governor John Hickenlooper. You're tuned in to Get More Smarter. I sure hope it works.
I'm Jason Bain.
And I'm Alan Franklin.
And you're tuned in to the Get More Smarter show. Let's get to it.
I was massaging my brain.
This week on the Get More Smarter show, we don't have an interview, so we're going to spend a little more time on some of the more pressing political news of the day. So first off, a lot of news this week about the shootings in Orlando. We're not going to comment too much on that because, frankly, there's a lot of information out there you can hear. And
Well, you know, obviously our hearts go out to all of the victims there and to the victims of violence and hate throughout the nation. We know that the problem of violence against the LGBT community predates this incident, and it's time for everyone to really have some introspection about that and see what we can do to stop that from ever happening again. Also, I yesterday went to the Bonfils Blood Center over in Lakewood and made a blood donation. I encourage everyone who's eligible to give blood to please get out and do that right away. You may know that there are some prohibitions against, well, gay men from giving blood, so it's even more important for us LGBT allies to stand up at this important time.
so on to the top political news of the week. Hillary Clinton is officially, super duper officially the
Is now the presumptive Democratic nominee.
presumptive nominee. I don't know why we have to do that. Why can't we just say she's the nominee?
Honestly, well, because it's not
Right.
official until you show up at the convention and there's a little ceremony with the bunting. I mean, this is very important.
This week she sat down with Bernie Sanders, who seems to be licking his burns, so to speak. I don't know.
Licking the burn? Oh, that's terrible. Okay, in any event,
Wait,
look,
that sounded. That made way more sense in my head.
it's really important now that he uses all of his influence to bring the Democratic Party together and present a unified front against Donald Trump in November. I'm old enough to remember the Howard Dean campaign in 2004, and there was a long time there when people who were supporters of Dean were talking like their votes would not be transferable, they wouldn't possibly vote for
Yeah, that's not a new thing.
All of that ended as soon as the primary was over.
You know, all things considered, would you rather have Donald Trump as your nominee, or would you rather have maybe a little lingering infighting between Hillary and Bernie people?
Well, I think I would rather have a little bit of discontent between two people who most would agree were qualified to be president versus this really crazy guy who's in the process of destroying the Republican Party. He is a slow motion car wreck. They can't do anything about it. It's like a bad dream. They're screaming, no, and the car is crashing, and, you know, they're going to wake up, but...
That's very dramatic. A man who has been a candidate for president for more than, I don't know, 16 months now, 17 months, is finally making his first visit to Colorado on July 1st for the Western Conservative Summit.
Trump has made a lot of outreach to the evangelical community, but only the really hypocritical and bought-off ones have actually, you know, embraced Trump.
Well, and it's easy to forget, even though it wasn't that long ago, that Ted Cruz swept the delegates on the Republican side in Colorado.
We know that Trump is not being very well received right now, even by many Republicans. You've got Republican leadership that's closing ranks around him, but you've got so many down the ticket that are just petrified. They don't know what to do. Mike Kaufman, believe me, if he could see his way clear politically to supporting Donald Trump, he would. But he knows that that could actually make the difference in his race.
No, people like Mike Kaufman who are going to be asked again ad nauseum, do you support Donald Trump for president? It's not a question he wants to answer.
2 of the 5 Republican U.S. Senate candidates in Colorado have kind of sort of backed away from Trump.
Momentarily.
Well, it's weird because they are embracing Trump out of one side of their mouth and calling him out for things that are patently unacceptable out of the other. I don't know. It's a very tough game to play.
Is Colorado really still a major presidential swing state? There's a couple of points to make here. First, Utah. The state of Utah is polling now fairly even with Hillary and Trump. That may be a new swing state.
That's amazing.
Outlets like Politico saying, no, Colorado is one of the 11 states that's going to decide the presidency.
Donald Trump could be setting the Republican Party up for such an historic landslide. That is a landslide defeat, of course. Yeah. Let's be clear. That it could render any individual state kind of irrelevant in terms of which one becomes the tipping point in the electoral map.
I think it's a little too early to say definitively, but I got to tell you, it feels a little bit like Colorado may end up being less important than it was in the last couple of presidential years.
We are a bellwether state for the mountain region. Our population is really considered to be representative of lots of communities throughout the West. So, I mean, Jefferson County is a perfect example of that. They say that as Jefferson County goes, the state of Colorado, I say how Jefferson County goes, so goes the nation.
We mentioned earlier in the show, we don't have an interview this week. The good part, though, is that lets us introduce a couple of new segments that we're kind of excited about. The first one, the up or down. There's an old saying in politics that you're either up or you're down. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about who's up, who's down in the Senate race. You don't get to equivocate.
Oh, so I can't be Eric Sonderman?
No.
Okay.
We can't. All right, so let's go with the U.S. Senate race. Michael Bennet, incumbent Democrat, up or down?
Very hard to say there's anything going down for him right now. No. I mean, everything's looking up. He's got a disastrous field of opponents. He's raising millions of dollars. His ads are great.
I still see his ads on TV more than I see any other Republican.
Probably all combined, yeah. I mean, really. Up.
Then Jack Graham, up or down?
I would say that Jack Graham overall is up. He has managed to weather a lot of the infighting in the Republican primary. He himself has kind of risen above it a little bit, or to the extent that he's been in the scrum, he's fought it pretty well.
But he's got $750,000 or so running on this ad, so it's much more than anybody else on the field. I got to say he's up too.
Really, Democrats aren't too worried about him since he's probably going to pull a Ben Nighthorse Campbell in the unlikely event that he should win, about 3 months into his term. So
yeah, I think Jack Nighthorse Graham is something you'll hear a lot.
That's awesome.
Should he win this primary? How about Robert Blaha? Recently got the endorsement of the Colorado Springs Gazette editorial board.
That was big. There's no question that the Springs and Gazette's endorsement of Robert Blaha is going to be used to maximum effect for him. He's got a lot of money to be out there on the air. I would say that Graham and Blaha's stock is both rising.
That's the best newspaper endorsement you're going to get as a Republican. And Daryl Glenn, this one's tougher, I think. Up or down?
I would still call him up after his support from the Senate Conservatives Fund. He's definitely in a better situation than he was even than when he won the Assembly. He remains a dark horse candidate who could pull this thing out. He needs all the help he can get from the Senate Conservatives Fund and other national conservative interests that are spreading the word for him. My understanding is that Glenn is really working hard on retail campaigning. He's getting out there in the state. So yeah, I would say that he's up a little too.
On the other hand, recently you had Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell basically ripping into the Senate Conservative Fund endorsement.
Who was demonstrating their irrelevance with that, though?
If I had to choose, though, I'd say Glenn's probably down, because somebody like Glenn, if he's not in the news, if he's not being talked about, he doesn't have the money to make up for that. How about Ryan Frazier?
Down. I'm sorry. He got on the ballot. It's okay. He's tried to register a few times. That ad did not spark the kind of discussion that he needed.
Zombie Hunter ad?
Yeah, the Zombie Hunter ad.
Didn't work for you, huh?
I was nonplussed in the end. Look, he's going to be out there trying. He's in the pack, and only one of them wins.
Yeah, I got to agree. He's down just simply because you can't make an argument that he's up right now.
That's right.
Which leads us to John Kaiser.
Yeah, we're good here.
Really far down.
Over. Done. Next, please.
Welcome back to Get More Smarter. I've got a question for you, Alan. Are you afraid that Larry Liston will hurt you again?
Again? Well, I don't know when he hurt me the first time.
It's a little bit of this video. This is how weird we're getting into some of these primary races.
I asked Larry Liston a question at some political function, and he didn't want to answer my question. I got insistent that he answer, and he grabbed me by the arms and shook, and I got out of his grasp. And when I got home, I had some bruises. My arms were sore.
Back in the 2010 election, the famous Frida Poundstone did a commercial where she accused Dan Mays of basically stealing her money. It may have actually happened. I mean, we don't know if this happened. Honestly, you're never inclined to dispute
this one's
a nice
pretty
elderly
vague.
lady telling this
pretty vague
story. I mean, it sounds like a bad story.
Right.
I mean, Larry Liston shaking her and leaving bruises, but there was no police report. There's nothing else to corroborate this. We don't know when the incident happened. Right. It's just this lady saying these awful things about Larry Liston with really no context. You have a sense that she was not put up to this. I mean, that was my feeling about it. But there's just so much out there that you can't prove. The hard right really likes Janet Joshi. And Larry Liston's got a big base of support with the more institutional.
As a former legislator.
As a former legislator, I mean, he's got a lot of ties down there. And yeah, I mean, it's like a real, just, cutthroat, a knife fight in a phone booth. Larry Liston is a guy who has had a lot of gaffes. He's definitely a Republican that has embarrassed himself from time to time, but he's also come across the aisle a few times as well.
Basically saying he's hosed then at a press.
He's hosed, yeah,
He's reasonable. Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty much
It's not going to work.
right.
You're in for a treat. We've got another segment. This
Oh,
one
my
we're
God.
calling. Yep. This one we're calling the Beaupre scale, the Bob Beaupre scale of political weirdness.
He has had a long history of major weird political gaffes.
Widely considered to have run what the worst statewide race in modern Colorado political history when he ran for governor
In 2006.
John Kaiser is trying like hell to catch him, but
Famous for this photo of Beaupre standing literally next to a horse's ass.
the wrong end of the horse.
It's the wrong end of the horse. Also, the black hat doesn't help him. That kind of connotes villain, but really it was the horse's ass.
So here's the story. On a scale of 1 to 5 Beaupres, this week came out.
5 Beaupres. Is that like all the Beaupre kids and Monica Owens too? All right.
5 Beaupres is as high as we're going. House District 42 in Aurora, Ernest Looning of the Colorado Statesman reported this week that Eric Nelson, the one of 2 candidates seeking Democratic nomination for the state house there, also a member of the Aurora School Board, turns out is one hell of a con man.
I mean, amazing con man. This guy lied about everything, and everybody believed him. He was elected to the Aurora School Board. He became executive director of a major Denver nonprofit organization.
Claiming to have a degree in social work that he didn't have.
There's not anything in the man's background we can verify is authentic, except for the criminal record, which includes multiple cases of domestic violence.
And includes a word you did not hear very often anymore. Bigamy.
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 When was the last time you heard that word?
Married to multiple women at the same time. Really bad stuff for anybody in politics, is safe to say.
Maybe 7 different university degrees that he doesn't have, that schools don't have any record of him existing.
Or he picked schools that have closed,
Right.
So you can't call anybody.
Right.
He did these horribly bad photoshops and sent them to a news reporter. It's unbelievable.
These are fantastic. Just take a look at these. Eric Nelson took the time to make these fraudulent degrees to sort of back up these claims that he had gone to these schools, and then he misspells the name of one of them.
Oh man, no, it's a tragic case. It's really one of
How many Beaupres?
5 Beaupres. 5 Beaupres. He
agree.
nails it. Honestly, no, this guy sets the standard. If people had heard of Eric Nelson, it could be 5 Nelsons.
You think kudos to the Democrats for coming out and saying,
Right.
drop out.
Yeah, get out. We can't have this.
Eric Nelson, if that is your name, 5 Beaupres.
5 Beaupres.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Bang.
Next week on the Get More Smarter show, we'll preview the June 28th primary race for a whole bunch of campaigns across the state. We're going to make some predictions, see who's more right and more wrong and more smarter and more,
I'm going to be
more dumber.
right. I will be more right.
I will be.
And I'll be more smarter.
Yeah, you may be. So we're hoping we may do a little bit more smarter today. We'll see you next week.